Good morning, everybody. Welcome to episode 23 of the Broadview Podcast. We're going to talk about the series finale of WandaVision. Stay tuned.
Sometimes I gotta, and sometimes I gotta, and sometimes I gotta, and sometimes.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to episode 22 or 23 of the Broadview Podcast. I'm sorry. We're going to talk about the series finale of WandaVision, which, aired on Friday. Not a ton of Easter eggs here. I mean, this is a pretty straightforward story. They trolled us, which I'm going to talk about in a second because I'm not very happy. I'm not very happy, and I'm gonna be honest with you. It's not my pride. It's not that I'm not happy because I was wrong about things. I'm wrong like all the time. But you can ask anyone I know how often is Brian wrong, and it's like in the 90s, 90%. The 90th percentile. I mean, in basketball terms, I'm shooting a 50, 40, 90 when it comes to being wrong about something. But I'm only wrong until I'm right. You know what I mean? And while that sounds basic, it doesn't mean it's not true. Because I end up right eventually, all the time, 100% of the time. Whether I was wrong at the beginning, I always end up right, so it doesn't really matter. So we're going to talk about this. The story is pretty straightforward. Ultimately, we pick up in Agatha is, holding the kids hostage. They get into their fight is interesting. I actually do like their kind of back and forth battle. It's like very similar to me to it like harkens back to me to the scene of Mysterio fighting Spider-Man, the first fight in Far From Home, where it's like, you think you're on solid ground and then the battlefield shifts and then it continues to shift. It's just constantly shifting. The battle is constantly shifting, whereas, there's the scene where Wanda gets into Agatha's head and Agatha is able to flip that. They come out, and obviously there's the ultimate, the final finale of the battle where Wanda, is essentially missing. I'm pretty sure this is what happens, and I haven't seen anyone point this out, but I'm pretty sure this is what's happening. I mean, she's missing sometimes, right? When she's throwing her energy that Agatha's absorbing, there's times where she's missing, and I'm pretty sure that when she's missing, she's putting the runes on the hex. You know what I mean? Around the hex. So, obviously when Agatha tries to finish absorbing that power, you find, the hex is there, and boop, no, it's like, no, you can't do it. And actually, the opposite happens. It seems like Wanda absorbs Agatha's power, possibly. Kind of hard to tell. I mean, I don't know if she absorbs her power or, I don't know. Maybe the power has some sort of knowledge. When it's sitting in Agatha, it comes out with a new like understanding of magic, almost added to the consciousness, that when it comes back into Wanda, she becomes imbued with a better understanding of magic and stuff like that. Who knows? Then we have the Vision and White Vision fight, which is really good. It ends in to me the most anticlimactic way you could end a fight ever. I hate it. I hate it. I just hate it. I hate it. Yeah, I hate questions. They compare it to he asks some about the was it Theseus's ship, which is I love that thought. The Theseus's ship thought. The question of it is, if you named the ship and replaced the rotting boards until there was no original boards of the ship, would it still be the same ship, right? That thought process is like a really, just a great way to look at life, just an interesting way to look at life. I'm not going to get into that. This is not my mental health. I'm going to do a mental health podcast, but this is not about that. And White Vision melts down. He says, oh, fuck, what a question. And then, Vision brings all his memories back, whatever. And, I would have almost rather have seen them phase into each other until they molded into one and we're like, yo, what the fuck is happening, or who am I, or something. I don't know. But that couldn't happen either, because ultimately the end of the story is about the love. When you step back and look back at this story, it's a love story, and at the center of this, the center of the show is a love story. And the love story is beautiful. Honestly, it really is beautiful. Shout out to Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen. I mean, I think they act their asses off, even though Elizabeth Olsen's accent is not anything I'll ever get behind. Just leave the accent. Fuck it. You're just not Wackovian. It's cool. Or Sokovian anymore. That's cool. I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? I'm cool. We can just move on. We can just move. It don't sound good. You know what I mean? I'd rather you not do the accent, because I think you just acted your ass off generally. And the accent, I thought, didn't help. Obviously, we find out Paul Bettany was trolling us the whole time. He was the actor that he always wanted to act. Bravo, Paul, I guess. You son of a bitch. You disappointed many Marvel fans, but that's our fault. Again, I'm not disappointed in that because disappointment is purely a self thing, right? Disappointment is based on expectations that I created, right? Now, also, okay, so before now, let's go back. We we get to see Spectrum do some thug shit, or however you want to call her Spectrum, or you want to call her what's her face, Photon. Either way, I guess she's gonna be Spectrum, maybe whatever. She does some thug shit. She's able to catch some bullets that, as new rock stars pointed out, were terribly shot because they're not going anywhere near the kids. They're not anyway. They're actually shot between the kids ultimately. And Photon absorbs the bullets. It seems to absorb the energy off the bullets, so the bullets just phase through her and fall to the ground because there's no more energy left. That's essentially the root of her power, is to absorb that energy. And not only that, but they allude to her super speed, where she watches the bullet zoom by her. She's literally watching it. Similar to like Superman when he fights the Flash in the first Whack Justice League. And he's just like looking at him, and Flash is like, "Oh fuck." So the obviously Billy stops it from coming anywhere near him. And the fight ends. Hayward's a piece of shit, even though it's not really clear why they arrest Hayward, kind of. But like, I'm gonna be honest. Okay, before I get into that, okay, we also see Quicksilver. We get the well, not Quicksilver, and I'm gonna bitch about that in a second too. We get the reveal that he's Ralph. He's the husband that Agatha's been referencing, Ralph Boner, who is an actor apparently in this. And this is Marvel's favorite stupid move: is here's a bad guy. Psych, no, he was always just an actor. They did this in Iron Man 3 with trash ass Mandarin, and they ruined Mandarin for a few years, and now they're gonna bring Mandarin back apparently. But you can't get to the stage. You get Ben Kingsley. Ben Kingsley, the ultimate actor who plays parts that he the ultimate white guy actor who plays parts that are not culturally appropriate, because he played Gandhi, and he's just some British guy, which is really disrespectful when you think about playing guy. Ben Kingsley playing Gandhi is the equivalent of like a white guy here playing like Nat Turner. You know what I mean? Because the British had occupied India for a very, very long time, and they did very disrespectful shit, disgusting shit to them. So him playing Gandhi is one of the most disrespectful things you could ever do. Really disgusting. Anyway, you get Ben Kingsley to play a Chinese man, an Asian guy named the Mandarin, and he just turns out to be an actor. And here we go. We got Ralph Boner here to pop in as Pietro, and he's just some actor. Such a good actor that he convinces Elizabeth Olsen that he's Quicksilver, even though she sees that he's different. But we're going to talk about that. Yeah, whatever. Two great post-credit scenes. The first post-credit scene is essentially, a Skrull coming down, talks to Photon, or talks to Monica and says, hey, he wants you to come up, which is probably more than likely Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury, wants you to come up. Cool. Next post-credit scene, we see Wanda doing her best best impression of Doctor Strange. She's making a kettle of tea while also reading the Darkhold, which we get that confirmation in this episode. That's the Darkhold. While she's reading the Darkhold, she grabs the kettle of tea barehanded like a thug she is. She don't give a shit. And she's also learning all of this stuff. And then while she's reading the Darkhold, she hears her kids calling for her. She hears Tommy and Billy calling for her. And seems to maybe fly off or something. You get that flash of red before her eyes, which probably means nothing, maybe. I don't know. It really, I stopped it and rewinded it. There was nothing really there to see. And she, that's how it ends. Okay. Agatha compares her to the Sorcerer. Well, says that that the Scarlet Witch is more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme, which might be true. I don't know. In the comics, that's hard to say. Doctor Strange has done some real thugged out shit. He's done some really powerful shit. You know what I mean? Listen, he beat Thanos, essentially. Let's be honest. He beat Thanos pretty much single-handedly. You know what I mean? Because he went through like 3 million different situations to find out how to beat him, and went to the one situation where he beats him. Sacrificed Iron Man and all. What a thug. I mean, that's power. Um, and then all, so is she more powerful? I mean, she can do some shit. Again, in the comics, there's the no more mutants thing. She essentially gives the world to Magneto at one point. I mean, she is powerful. She skirts those lines of she's a complicated figure in the comics because she does skirt those lines where people are like, yo, she's too powerful to keep around. You know what I mean? Like, and she keeps having these mental breakdowns. We kind of need to kill her. So, ultimately, again, at the center of this story, it's a love story, and it's a beautiful love story. Paul Bettany really pulls at the heartstrings. But he does his best Jim impersonation from The Office, just really pulling at the heartstrings, real romantic shit. I mean, he sheds a tear at one point, and finally Wanda tells us where Vision came from. She also gives that very interesting, which is the confirmation of the origin of Billy and Tommy's souls, is thank you for choosing me as your mother. Now, what that means is a little confusing because in terms of Mephisto, which Mephisto is involved somewhere. Maybe he's not involved in this show or in some of, he's not involved with Agatha or anything like that. But we know he pops up in Loki on the stained glass window in that one scene. So he's somewhere. And in the comics, Billy and Tommy are pieces of his soul. But I don't know that as pieces of his soul that they have their own consciousness that makes them decide. You see what I'm saying? They're just pieces of soul that when she takes and puts them into these two kids, they become Billy and Tommy. They're not bad guys or anything. They get raised and develop their own thing, but just doesn't seem, whatever. She thanks them. She thanks them for choosing her. And it really is the end of the show. The themes of the show are really about confronting grief. How escapism doesn't really resolve past trauma. Trauma that hasn't been escapism won't resolve that, right? That's what the kind of the point of the show is, I would say, and that at times, no matter how strongly you love something, letting go is the only option. It's the only healthy option to move forward. And she does that. And obviously, is it the healthy option if she's going to become an asshole or a bad guy? Then, that's kind of complicated. But in the show, in the vacuum of the show, that's pretty much what the point of the story is. And sometimes during that trauma, because that is kind of what the reaction of the townsfolk is, right? That sometimes during that trauma, you will, hurt some other relationships you have. And whether those relationships can remain intact after is based on the grace of that person, but it's not up to them to endure your mental health or your trauma. You know what I mean? As someone who's had a lot of experience with this. So yeah, and that's a beautiful theme. Honestly, it's a beautiful theme. Do I think the show was good? It was okay. I think it was okay. I think it could have been more. They said it was the launching pad for Phase 4. It doesn't really feel that way. It more feels like the key turn to the door of Phase 4 is what it feels like, more than, and here's Phase 4 full effect. It feels more like somebody opened a window and Phase 4 is drafting in. Now let's get to the shit that pisses me off, because I'm not angry. Again, I'm not angry that I'm wrong or that that we didn't get the X-Men. We don't know. We still don't know who Monica's aerospace engineer friend is, unless it was that chick in the military, which it pretty sure it wasn't based on her description. We don't know who Jimmy Woo's missing person, which is Jimmy Woo, by the way. I really loved he plays great. I love his role in this show. I think he's great. I think Jimmy Woo does great. We don't know who his missing person is. No clue. You trolled us with Dottie. That's cool. I thought that's a good troll, because we're sitting here like, who is Dottie? Who's Dottie? Boop, Dottie's no one. Cool. That was a good troll. That's not a troll at the expense of the show. You see what I'm saying? Evan Peters is a troll at the expense of the show, and let me explain why. This is why this is shit writing. This is bad writing. And who the fuck am I, right? I'm sitting here telling you I'm not even a writer. You know what I mean? I be writing shit, but I'm not a writer. I don't write a show. But I'm going to tell you, as somebody who got disgusted by Game of Thrones and was very, very upfront about how disgusted I was by the ending of Game of Thrones, which was not just something I felt. Let me be clear. When the end of Game of Thrones happened, my disgust with it only became confirmed as I went online and realized how many other people were disgusted. I was disgusted and I found out other people were disgusted. I thought people just loved it and that I was an asshole. I'm alone and I'm going to die on this hill alone. And then I found out, no, the majority of people are on the hill. It's you who think the show was good that's going to die alone on that hill now. The Evan Peters writing is bad because you bring in, okay, so to troll fans is what it seems like, right? As of right now, we don't know. Maybe in the future they fix this and we find something else out. I don't know. Just talking about right now. You took Evan Peters, who was Quicksilver in another universe, okay? You bring him in here and you say, hey, you're going to be Quicksilver right now, except that they don't explain how he even has Quicksilver's powers. I guess we're going to chalk it up to the beads, these magical beads, even though at every portion of the show, they describe exactly the magic that's being used. I mean, how many times does Agatha give Wanda lessons on magic? Oh, your runes, you don't recognize the runes. Oh, you casted a probability hex here. Oh, you did this magic. Oh, here's this magic. Right? Okay, so there's these magic beads, and these magic beads somehow give fake Quicksilver, Evan Peters, Ralph Boner, the ability to run really fast. Also, some sort of super strength where he literally flicks Photon away, but somehow Photon then also was like, "Oh, let me grab the beads off your chest." Somehow, you just flicked me away. However, I still managed to grab I'm going to grab the beads though next time. Okay. So you got Evan Peters' power. I mean, you have Quicksilver's power. You show up at Wanda's house, and Wanda, inexplicably, this is because, see, for me, if this had been again, I had explained this in a different episode, that if Wanda's a Nexus being, which they allude to, she sees Quicksilver and maybe senses something in him that this is Quicksilver. This is Pietro. Right? I sense this is Pietro, and maybe it's Pietro from a different alternate timeline, but at his core, it's him, right? That was my explanation for why she recognized him as Pietro. But with this explanation, with how it's closed, that doesn't make any fucking sense. You just saw a random guy and said, hey, my brother's here. What? This is a random person named Ralph Boner. That is you're recognizing as your brother out of nowhere? How? Based on what logic is this? That is shit writing. That's not good writing. To troll the fans, you decided to bring in Quicksilver from a different movie franchise, except that he is not that Quicksilver. He's just a guy in this universe. And somehow Wanda sees him and is like, oh, Pietro, what are you doing here, bro? But also acknowledges that he looks different. What mind fuckery is that? That's not mind fucking. That's not a riddle. That's just bad. That's just bad writing. For that, instead of being being up to trolling fans, instead of so desperately wanting to troll fans, which you did with the aerospace engineer thing, you did it with Dottie. Instead of being so wanting to troll fans, which Paul Bettany trolls everyone. Great job trolling people. Sent people on a 4-week spin trying to figure out what actors he didn't work with yet. And I'm here fucking calculating, I'm the chick in the gift, doing all this shit. Numbers running by, trying to figure it out. So you want to do an additional troll here and sacrifice good writing for that troll. That's bad. That's not good writing. That's terrible. It's stupid. Doesn't make sense. The logic is senseless. It's senseless. I just need people to understand that when I'm saying that. I need you to understand what I'm saying. That writing doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any motherfucking sense. Oh, hey, Pietro, I don't know this, but I've never seen this face in my life. But it seems like Quicksilver. Based on what? Based on what? The beads? We're going to say the beads that's it, huh? The beads. Literally everyone else acknowledges in the show that it's not Quicksilver. They're all like, hey, She recasted Quicksilver. She recasted Pietro. She asked him, "Why do you look different? Why does he look different? Why do you think it's Pietro?" You see, because that's the misdirect, right? The troll is that they told us it wasn't Quicksilver, and we ruminated on it and said, no, it's a lie. It has to be Quicksilver. We ruminated. That's the troll. The troll was that it's not Quicksilver. We're telling you, as I said last week, that in a lot of that so far, this story has been about the most simplest explanation the whole way through. They've been telling us the whole time it's not Pietro. It's not Quicksilver. They've been telling us the whole time. They've been saying Ralph lives in her house, and we never see Ralph. They told us the whole time. That part is true. The part that doesn't make sense is that Wanda recognized him at any point as Pietro. That doesn't make sense. That is dumb as shit. That is not good writing. For that, you should have just brought back what's-his-face, Evan Taylor Johnson, and said, hey, we're just going to resurrect you. And the explanation is going to be Ralph, this actor, right, who you could still keep as Evan Peters to be funny. Ralph, the actor, has these beads that make him look and appear like your dead brother. But they didn't do that. They let Evan Peters look like Evan Peters that looks like Quicksilver from a different universe, and somehow that was enough for Wanda, someone stronger than the Sorcerer Supreme apparently, to look at this person and say, oh, hey, Pietro, how'd you come back to life? What? That's bad writing. That is bad writing. I don't care what anyone says. That is stupid. That's just bad writing. It doesn't make sense to me. Now, maybe in the future, we find out that because this is the Nexus somehow or some way, Evan Peters' character, Ralph, is Peter Maximoff in the Marvel Universe, that they are the same person inherently, just in two different universes, and that somehow in this convergence of this hex, he was able to tap into that person. But then in order to allow that to be the case, right, in order for that to be the truth, then you have to really dive into, okay, well, so who's the person who convinced Wanda to go to that house that was next to fake Evan, to Evan Peters, right? Who convinced Wanda to go to the house where Evan Peters lives next to, which is a question anyway, but it's not a question. It could be a question, but it's not a question because Evan Peters is nobody. Is just nobody. So who convinced her to go to that house then? If you decided to go with the Nexus explanation, who convinces her to go to the house then to live next to fake Evan Peters? Is that just coincidence? Or something? Because if you tried to answer that question, you would just cause a bunch of other more questions that would further subvert anything about this show. It would just be even more confusing and dumb. You could have fixed it by just not doing Evan Peters, or by just doing Evan Peters at the end, and that Aaron said the beads made him look like Aaron Taylor Johnson, gave him Aaron Taylor Johnson's characteristics, and it's like, no, he was just an actor the whole time. Instead, Wanda said, hey, Quicksilver's here, guys. Just confusing. That to me is bad writing. That bothers me, right? That bothers me. It's fine that you trolled me with all these other shit, but that part bothers because it's dumb, because it's stupid. It bothers me. Anyway, that's it. I'm out on it. Did I like the ending of the show? No. Will I ever watch the show again? Nope. You know what I mean? It's hard to give a show. I don't know what this show finishes with on IMDb. Let me see something. Let's pull this bitch up right here. Where are we at? We're gonna go up here. Let's go WandaVision. Of course, yeah, there we go. WandaVision. What does this show end up with? An 8.2. Okay, I guess maybe that's fair. I can't imagine. I'd have to really look, because I can't imagine there's a lot of shows that have an 8.2 ending that I would ever go back to watch again. Or I'm sorry, a show. I can't imagine that there are a ton of shows with an 8.2 that I wouldn't watch again, I should say. This has an 8.2, and I will never watch the show again. Really not a lot of rewatchability. It's not that entertaining. But what made it entertaining was discovering the mystery, only to find out at the end of the show there is no mystery. This is why me, someone who watched Game of Thrones and rewatched it a ton of times, because of the shitty ending, I have never watched it again. I've tried to watch it again. I can't even get past the first scene of the show because the first scene is the White Walkers. And you find out that the White Walkers are no one. They're just no one. So what's the point then of watching this show? Same thing with WandaVision. You find out, damn, nothing meant nothing. None of it meant anything. But it was a nice love story. I will say that. It was a beautiful love story. I can say that. Really beautiful love story, really touching, really deep thoughts and concepts in terms of talking about trauma and distress and depression. So that's it. This week, I think this week they're doing like a there's going to be like a 10th episode that's like a behind the scenes type thing and, whatever. And then next week we get Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'll be talking about that when that drops, which I'm sure, it probably, I'm going to look deeply into things. I'll be wrong about every one of them based on the ending of this show. It probably means nothing. It will mean nothing to us. You know what I mean? It will mean nothing. That's it, everyone. Wash your hands. Don't write bad material. Wear a mask, right? Black Lives Matter. Arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor. Stay safe, everybody.
And sometimes I gotta. And sometimes I gotta. Cope. And sometimes I gotta. And sometimes I gotta.